All right. Let's admit everybody and get started here. Thank you for joining. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining. We've got people coming in. We'll continue to add people as we go along. Shelly, Sean, Scott, it's good to have you guys on. As always, welcome. Good to see you. Thanks for joining for this Thursday. I know this is something that we've added in 2022 is a Thursday roundtable discussion where we want you to be able to connect with us, much like our Friday with the founders, but talk about a specific topic. Thanks for joining. We've got people coming in. We'll get this replay going, and we're streaming live on our YouTube as well. So if you're watching this live or watching this in replay, we hope you get a lot out of it. Shelly, thanks for joining from Nevada. I hope everything is well out there. Here in Colorado, we've had some snow, so I've been out shoveling and up since 5 a.m. to get my workout on and do the rest of my system stuff. And I hope everybody else has been doing well. So Sean, Scott, wherever you're joining from, let us know in the chat. If you brought somebody, let us know. If you have questions, raise your hand. There's also that reactions. That's where you can raise your hand, or feel free to throw in the chat any questions that you might have. So part of our win process in 2022, we've dedicated an hour every single day to come on live and talk with you guys about different subjects, all in an effort to really be elevating the Elify community. And as a member of this community, we welcome you guys to participate in these, and we hope you get out as much as we do when we have these things. This Thursday roundtable discussion, and our Thursdays in general, will vary everything from proposed, I was talking with Kathy about this, online networking that we might want to start in 2022 and really practicing some of that, and then going out and networking using some of our Shuffle technology to support that outside of that meeting. Also, these roundtable discussions, we want to have almost like an open office for you guys to ask anything you want and really focus on the subject matter that's going to best support and help what you guys are doing with your respective businesses, brands, products, services, etc. So with that being said, again, thank you for joining. And are there any questions or topics out there that somebody just wants to throw out, and we can have a conversation about that? I don't want to be the talking head on Thursday. I want to have a conversation with you guys. So Scott, Sean, Shelly, any thoughts out there or questions you have? All right. Is there anything anybody needs help with? Yep, Scott, go ahead. Thanks for raising your hand. Go ahead, unmute yourself and ask away.
Sure. Why don't you maybe just share how you introduce Shuffle into the conversation when you're coming in contact with somebody?
Yep. So when I think about introducing Shuffle, I'm thinking about the purpose of that conversation at the very beginning. If I'm out networking, if I'm out meeting new people, I'm going through my general process that I go through when I meet new people. If it's online, we're having a conversation, and eventually that conversation comes to exchanging information. So the first way I'm introducing it is just by my daily active use of it. So we call that the sort of passive exposure, right? I'm using my Shuffle, I'm out there, I'm talking with people, and when I interact with somebody and I need to share a piece of information and we talk about the right information to the right person at the right time, that's when I'll introduce it, if you will. Hey, I've got something I want to share with you. And then something Kathy talked about on an earlier call, which I think is so insightful, is to almost ask what's the best path for you to share that information, since you can share Shuffle material through all different types of paths. So I won't give them, how do you want to receive this in a broad statement. I'll usually give them two options. And if you remember Kathy's conversation, if I'm in person, right, in real life, interacting with people, I've got a good way right here with the tap card to share that information. So, typically I'll say, would you rather me tap this information directly to your device, or would you like to scan a QR code? And that gives them two options, and they sort of are taken back like, what, really? Okay, and then both are pretty easy options for your recipient to receive information, and that creates that first experience. And then typically what so often happens is that starts an additional conversation. what is this, or how did you do that? And when they start asking that question, you know you've piqued interest. And again, depending on what the goal of the conversation is, you could lead with additional information. But again, it's all conversational. I know that's not a specific step by step, Scott, but that's typically how I do it. I'm not going into the conversation specifically with, I've got to tell you about Elify, I've got to tell you about Shuffle. A lot of the time, I'm asking questions, asking what they do, asking who they are, asking how they help people, and then thinking about how I can help them. And maybe it's leveraging the technology, and then I'm thinking, okay, how do I share my information with them to expose them to the technology, and then set it up to where I can show them how the technology can also help them. If it's online, it's a little bit different because it tends to be more back and forth digital conversation, and then I'm sharing links out to them, and that's typically the first exposure. Sometimes if I'm doing a Zoom, I'll share my screen and I'll pull up QR codes for people who are watching on their screen to pull up their device and scan and then receive that information. So there's a lot of ways, depending on the situation, on how you would make that initial exposure. But first and foremost, and sort of along the lines of the theme of getting started for today, this is the first week of the year. There's a lot of people jumping in, reigniting their businesses, their brands, and really kicking the year off right. It really just starts with daily active usage of my Shuffle. And I've been obviously using Shuffle for a very long time, but if you're new to it, then it's typically, what is the current systems or processes I run, and where can I leverage this technology along that path? And so that's a big review that I encourage everybody to sort of step back and look at, because we're all running a process. We're all running our systems. The system may be good or bad. It may be resulting in what you want or not leading down that path. But when you do a review of that system, you also start to think about, oh, okay, here's where I can plug in a digital business card or a product or service brochure or my lead capture or how I'm going to manage that contact. And again, the whole goal with Elify is that mashup of elevating our business and simplifying our life. So we want to simplify and streamline our processes and our systems so that we can create habits out of them. They become habitual and we do them all the time. And just injecting the technology in some series or point within your own process will help you use it more. And that's where it all starts, is once you start using it, you're going to start exposing people to it. And then the conversation about it naturally comes up. On the converse of that, there could be situations where you're specifically focused, right? We call that like active referring. You're out there looking to physically help people. And in those cases, I go directly in asking very pointed questions. How do you do this? How do you do that? And they're typically about the areas that Shuffle supports. How do you network? How do you manage your relationships? How do you control your follow-ups? How do you take notes on those prospects? And typically I find, and this is sort of the patterns that reveal themselves as you work through numbers and see things over time. Typically I find the average person is doing a few things, right? They're still using the old analog technology like paper business cards and printout brochures and things like that. And it's real easy to compare and contrast when you ask that, like how are you marketing or how are you connecting or how are you sharing or introducing yourself? Other things, when we talk about the networking side of Shuffle technology, it's how are you managing those relationships? Most often or more often than not, nowadays it's starting to become a little bit better, but people don't even use CRMs, right? They typically have some type of notebook where they're writing down the people they've met with and the notes about that meeting and all of that stuff. If they are somewhat tech savvy, I've come across a lot of people that have the endless Excel spreadsheet or Google spreadsheet where they're keeping the names, phone numbers, address, details about their leads and their prospects and their customers. And then there's a column for notes that's just getting bigger and bigger every time they try to fill it out. But typically what happens with both the notebook and the Excel or the spreadsheet style is it's out of sight, out of mind. Your notebook never jumps off your desk and says, hey, it's time to follow up with Scott, or hey, it's time to reach out to this person. So usually it's comparing and contrasting. On the content side versus the networking side of Shuffle, I'll ask them questions about that. How do you share information about what you do, who you are, how you help people? And then they'll go through that process. Again, everybody has a process or a system, and that's your opportunity to listen to what they're saying and then look for those areas in that process that you might be able to help support, simplify, elevate them with. So Scott, I know that's a long-winded sort of covering the broad spectrum. I hope that helps. Is there anything we want to dig in on with regards to that, or does that sort of give it to you in a nutshell? And you're muted.
No, that was helpful. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anything specific you want to dig in on that, Scott? Or is there anything specific about what you're doing right now and how you could be leveraging the technology in different areas of that, so that way you're in a position to expose it more?
I think maybe looking at what if someone was going at it from the affiliate side and trying to grow that aspect of it as well, how would you approach it maybe a little bit differently than the leading with the product or service that you offer?
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought that up, because this is multifaceted, right? So if you're not going to lead with the product side, you're leading with the opportunity side. So you have to think about those two things. And with a lot of businesses out there, it's very similar, right? You can lead with the product, or you could lead with the opportunity side. The first thing that I'd recommend to anybody, and again, because this is sort of a getting started first week of the new year roundtable discussion, we'll start at the beginning, getting started, right? The first thing I encourage everybody, whether you're doing an Elify affiliate program and ramping that up, or any program or opportunity in general, I say step back and review the structure of that program, right? And then you can lean into the areas that have the move the dial or the needle the most. And so speaking specifically to Elify's affiliate program, the biggest two components are all obviously going to be your direct referrals, right? You directly sharing. And I think that's the baseline of this question. But the second aspect that's the biggest needle mover is the network effect, right? The building a network of other people who are sharing that you potentially override. And both of those things, right? The direct and the leverage component, the network effect, are things that can't be overlooked. So when you're creating your system or your process, you want to do elements that focus on both of those if you're leaning into maximizing the opportunity. The way I like to personally think about these things when I'm thinking about business systems, in a way I step back and I think of them almost like a game. And you have to create a strategy to play the game. And if you've played any game out there, you know that there are some strategies that work better than others. I go back to some of the stuff I learned about game theory and things like that. Like there's a way to play tic-tac-toe, right? Where you either win every game or you get a cat's game, but you never lose. If you know that strategy and implement it, again, you're going to either win or you're going to tie every single time, but you've mitigated your chance of losses. On the other side, I think of like blackjack, right? Anybody who saw 21, the movie, or has researched the MIT blackjack team, they combined the strategy of basic strategy, right? How to optimally play blackjack. And they compounded that with the strategy of counting cards, and that gave them a competitive advantage. So when we look back at Elify's affiliate program, I think one of the very powerful components, probably the most powerful component, is the leverage component, right? I always use that quote. It's a John Paul Getty quote. I'd rather have 1% of the efforts of 100 people than 100% of my own effort. I take an even more macro approach to that. I'd rather have 1% of the efforts of 1,000 people, because I can't put in 1,000% effort. All of us are capped at 100% of our own effort. So any area where you can use leverage is going to be to your benefit, especially in Elify's affiliate program. So with that being said, Scott, one of those big components is an element of your process or system that includes, in a way, like a recruitment or an exposure specifically about the affiliate program, about the opportunity, so that people understand that's what you're specifically talking about. When I'm talking to people about the affiliate program, it basically boils down to two areas on the wheel of life that I think everybody is somewhat interested in balancing in their life. So we've all gone through this or seen this. If you haven't seen this yet, it's in the affiliate assets. If you are an affiliate, this is my own one. I've already gone through and done all the work, and I'm implementing all of these things in 2022. But the big things on the affiliate side, I talk about our career and financial. And sometimes those things go hand in hand. and sometimes they don't. I'm a big proponent of multiple streams of income. I think a lot of people, when you talk to them about that, they're like, yes, I know that's how the wealthy get wealthy and stay wealthy. They create all these streams of income that aren't necessarily related to time, and they build that income over time, and it just passively comes to them. That's how affiliate marketing is, and that's how Elify's affiliate program is. So I'm starting to have those types of conversations when I'm leaning specifically into direct referrals and supporting my network referrals, right? I want to show them there's a path where you can have a career, if you want it, as an affiliate online. And I've been an affiliate for over 2 decades. I haven't had to go out and punch a time clock or commute to something. And it's been an amazing luxury, right? It offered me financial freedom, time freedom, and location freedom. And when I start talking about those concepts with people, that's something that everybody can relate to. And majority of the time, a lot of people are striving for, they're just don't necessarily know of a good path to get there. So when you start having those conversations about, career and finance, that topic can tend to come up. The same when I'm directly exposing somebody to them, and when I'm supporting somebody in my referral network to expose other people. But the main strategy on that is, how do I build and support my team? Because if I get 10% on every direct referral residually and 8% on every network referral, and I'm adding things up, if I put in 100% time and I get 100 people at 10%, the equivalent of that on the 8% would be getting, 2, 3, 4 other people to go out and get their 10. And then I didn't even put any effort. So whatever direct effort I put in just compounds on that. So I don't know if that gives you any insight, Scott, but I think you got to look at what is my target, what is my goal, and then how am I going to leverage the framework of the affiliate program to best support achieving that. And for me, I always tell people this isn't get rich quick. Affiliate online affiliate marketing, whether you're promoting Elify, Shuffle, Tap, or some other affiliate product, I truly believe in, isn't get rich quick unless you have these major skill sets to drive a lot of eyeballs. And typically that is the fatal flaw of traditional affiliate marketing. If you are directly referring and you're limited to only having direct referrals, you need to drive a lot of eyeballs. Okay. And those can be driven in a million different ways. I break it down, and I'm happy to go on the whiteboard here and share some of those strategies if everybody on the call wants to go down that path. But it's all about driving the eyeballs. What I love about Elify's affiliate program is we've made it that structured it in such a way that if you're a micro influencer, if you don't have a million eyeballs or an audience, a big sphere of influence to drive people to and make those direct referrals, you can leverage that referral network to drive just as many eyeballs. And I think that'll lead into a book that I know we talked about last year, and Guy and I are going through a whole book series, almost doing a book a week. And it was Bob Beaudine's The Power of Who, right? If you work your network and support your network, you already know everybody you need to get wherever you're going. So, Scott, I hope that helps. Do you want to dive deeper on any of those things?
If everyone else is up for the whiteboard approach, I'm happy to see what you have to say.
Yeah, let's go through it, because again, whether this is part of the affiliate side of things or you're implementing this as part of your existing business, there is some strategies that typically fall into this. I'm going to move my camera around here and try and center this in. We might have a little bit of glare, but hopefully you guys will be able to see what I'm writing on this board here, and then hopefully it'll make sense on how this works within pretty much any business format. And I typically see that it falls into 3 categories if you're working and working relationships. And a lot of what all of us do here is relationship-based business. People are buying from us because they know us, they like us, and they trust us. And it doesn't matter what you're promoting, as long as you're stamping your name behind it and your credibility, and you've created relationship, you can be successful operating this framework. So let's see if I've got a good pen. Let's try this big black one. Scott, are you guys able to see this on the board? If not, I'm going to go through a few different markers here.
I can see it pretty well.
Okay, we've got a few acronyms on the board here. Hopefully you guys are able to see this. The first column is called LG, stands for lead generation. At the end of the day, everybody who's starting from ground zero and who has no existing relationships, right? They drop you off in a new location, they drop you off in a new city, and you got to start from ground zero. The first step in any business is you got to generate leads. Got to go out to where your audience is. And we all have different audiences and we all have different skill sets. So it's going to be unique to you, but where your audiences are, and then you got to start targeting them. Under lead generation, there's some interesting things, right? You've got IRL, in real life. Okay. Those are your lead generations that are going to happen offline. Maybe you're going to a networking event. Maybe you're going to a trade show. Maybe you're going to a seminar or workshop or whatever, and you're going to be in front of people. Heck, lead generation in real life could be you're at the grocery store line and you bump into somebody while you're waiting and strike up a conversation. At the end of the day, leads can be generated through all types of sources, but you've got in real life that can be supported by Shuffle, right? Who am I tapping information with? Who's scanning QR codes? Who am I airdropping stuff? Who am I giving my phone to enter in their details, etc.? And then you have online. I'll just do it as OL, online, okay? How are you generating leads and prospects online? Am I posting posts in different places and in different groups that solicit people to fill out my lead capture forms and add or get added to my list? Am I joining the conversation or making comments in certain places? Maybe I've decided to do search optimization and raise the ranking of my page to get it listed on the first page of certain keyword searches, or I'm buying banner ads or pay-per-clicks. Again, there are so many different things within just these two categories of online and offline. You can buy a list, but you have to do some sort of lead generation to get started. A lot of us already have that lead generation done, and we're just not working it. So some examples of that type of stuff is pull up your phone, open up your contacts, scroll through it. I can guarantee you if you pulled up your phone, opened up your contacts and scrolled through it, you probably have maybe on average 100 plus, if not like me, maybe 1,000 plus contacts. And there's a good chance that you haven't even contacted maybe 10% of them, let alone, you've only contacted maybe 10%, let alone maybe 5% of them. That's 90 to 95% of that list that's going unprocessed or unworked. Even just purging that list and working it as you went through would expose a bunch of leads to you. The best way to compare and contrast that, open up your contact list and compare it to your recent call list. If you scroll your recent call list, there's a good chance there's 10 primary people that you're interacting with all of the time, your business partners, your existing customers, etc. And then maybe a few people that are the new people that you're currently working in process with. But all of that's going to fall under lead generation for you. And you can say, okay, how can I leverage the technology to support the lead generation aspect based on the audiences that I'm targeting both online and offline? The next column, makes sense, everybody? Any questions on this lead generation column? Nope, sound good? Okay. The next column we've got, we call it H to E. It's a process, okay? Hello to enrollment. Once you have a prospect, that prospect needs to make an informed buying decision. You have to supply that prospect with enough interaction and information to make that decision. If we look at statistics on this, the last statistic I read, and I'm going to paraphrase, it's something like, again, I think I shared this, 80% of people out there, okay? Think about this, 8 out of every 10 people only interact with somebody twice, 2 times. That's 2 touch points. Maybe give you a call or shoot you an email, do a follow-up, and if a sale doesn't happen, they wash their hands of it. They're looking for the leads that are the 1 or 2 and done. And they're just churning through leads as quickly as possible. And typically they're just saying, man, if I could just have another lead to have 2 interactions with, I could get a sale. And the reality is, statistically, hello to enrollment is on average 5 to 12 interactions. Okay, people buy things from people they know, like, and trust. It's going to take multiple interactions to understand their needs, understand their problems, understand how your product or service may benefit them, and then allow them to make an informed buying decision. Now, the reality is sometimes the hello to enrollment process is super short. It's meeting with somebody for the first time. It's having that sales call and getting the sale on the first conversation, etc. And sometimes the timing is wrong, and it's going to take months of continued outreach or interaction or follow-up. But if you do a follow-up loop with your contacts, right, and you create a loop on that follow-up, you can start to get closer to those 5 to 12 interactions, and you'll actually see a higher conversion of the overall leads that you're working. Again, I like what Dave Ramsey says. If you've seen any of his stuff, be weird. If the average person is seeing average results, you be weird and do it a different way, and you're going to see different results. And so from the hello to enrollment cycle, we use and leverage Shuffle in this as part of the contact follow-up loop. What is the contact follow-up loop? Especially leveraging the technology, but people are doing this manually. Again, we want to elevate and simplify, so we're just leveraging the technology to help us support it and to get rid of the brain damage of doing it mentally. The first thing is we want to answer 5 questions about the contacts that we're working. Who are they? How do I know them? When have we interacted? What did we interact about? When are we going to interact again? If you can answer those 5 questions with whatever process you're running to manage hello to enrollment, you'll increase those conversion rates. Again, whether it's in person, in real life, or whether you're doing it online. The follow-up process with those 5 questions happens when you start, if we're talking getting started, start adding leads or prospects to your CRM in Shuffle. When I add something, I'm adding who they are and how I know them, right? I'm adding the information that I have for them, who they are, and all of the note stuff, how I know them. What I love in Shuffle is you can import contacts. Again, going back to that example for our lead generation, let's say we're starting with the list of contacts we have on our phone. You can open up Shuffle on your phone, go to the contact section, hit the plus sign, and then scroll down to the bottom of that form to manually enter a contact, and you can pull contacts directly from your phone list. I always recommend don't import all your contacts, work them one at a time. And if they're not worth adding into your Shuffle to be worked, purge them out of your contact list, especially if you haven't. I've got people in my contact list from like junior high or high school, haven't talked to in decades. But that could also be an opportunity to open up a conversation and catch up. Again, the interaction points as part of hello to enrollment don't always have to be about business. They're about rapport building and building the trust process, showing that you can help them accomplish their goals or solve their problems, and letting them make an informed decision of whether that value that you're creating for them is worth the cost that you're charging for them. On that follow-up loop, right? Who are they and how do I know them? I'm using the info section in Shuffle and the notes section, right? When have we interacted and what did we interact about? Again, the same thing. I might be logging different notes, okay, setting different follow-ups and checking them off. And I'm just looking at that contact activity that's sort of giving me a checklist or a mental reminder of all of the interaction I've had with that contact, okay? And then the last point, right? Who are they? How do I know them? When have we interacted? What did we interact about? The last piece of any relationship management tool, doesn't matter what CRM system you're using, manual or technology, is when are we going to interact again? Okay, that's what creates the loop. Every time I have an interaction with a contact, I want to immediately after, during that interaction, I'm setting the next expectation with that person, right? Sounds good, Scott. Looks like we've got a meeting set for tomorrow, and I will talk to you then. Or looks like we'll be getting coffee on Monday, and I will see you then. Or looks like now's not the right time, and I will follow up with you in 6 months. I leave the existing interaction by setting the expectation for the next interaction. Then there's 2 more steps. I add the notes, What was that current interaction that we just finished about? So that way I don't have to go back and do the mental brain damage of what did I talk to them about? It's already logged. And I can use the dictation note in Shuffle for the notes section to just give a quick little brief statement of this is what we just talked about. It was a great meeting with Scott. He's interested in this, this, and this. He's trying to solve this, this, and this problem. And here is our next planned interaction. Or, had a great conversation with Shelly, but now is not the right time. She asked for me to follow up with her in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. And again, I'm going to log all that. And then the final thing I'm doing is setting when are we going to interact again, that follow-up reminder. And I'll just put in some note stuff so that when that reminder goes off, hey, ER, it's time to follow up with Sean. I'm going to pull up my Shuffle. I'm going to open up that contact profile. I'm going to do a quick review of the activities, right? You just scroll through and say, when was the last time I interacted with Sean? What did we interact about? I'll flip through the notes. Okay, I'm brought up to speed. I didn't have to do anything. And then when are we interacting again? I've got to make sure I send a quick reminder about that Monday coffee or about that other meeting that we have coming up. And then again, I will have the interaction and I'll just follow that loop round and round and round again. And that's going to support a contact, one, never falling through the cracks, and two, again, a higher conversion of our lead generation side of things. Scott, is that making sense so far? And for everybody else on the call, I hope this is providing you some insight into a process or a system that anybody can implement independent of what you're promoting or selling. Additionally, if you do have questions about this, either raise your hand or throw them in the chat section. But if there are no questions about sort of lead generation or hello to enrollment, we'll move on to the final section because that's just as important as the other two. No questions? Okay. The last thing, acronym PE, post-enrollment, okay? Most people think the moment that they make a sale, all right, Scott just bought from me. He bought my product X, Y, and Z. He subscribed to my service. The work is done. Woo! Let's move on to the next lead or the next prospect we're going to get sold on. And this is the reality. Most people spend their lives either in here, a little bit in here, or maybe just in these two columns. But post-enrollment is one of the most important pieces. In fact, when you make a sale, that's when the work begins. You have to fulfill on your obligations of that sale. Maybe your company's fulfilling on that, but you have to make sure you're giving that customer the ultimate experience. You want to help and support them so that one, you retain them. Two, over time, you can build the size of their basket of services that they're purchasing from you. You know what I mean? And three, so that they refer you business. This whole thing in turn becomes its own little cycle where the post-enrollment work you're doing with people will feed into generating new leads, and those leads are the referral. So if you can start creating a loop, then your lead generation becomes very simple. All of your customers who you're following up with, hey, Scott, you're a customer of ours. How's everything going? Do you need any help with anything? Are you ready to submit your reorder, etc.? You go through that whole process, and then all of a sudden, oh, hey, when somebody asks me for a referral for something or what I'm doing over here, and Scott's name comes up, then they're out there saying, who you need to connect with? You need to connect with Scott. And you know what? Scott's given me his digital business card, so it's real easy for me to pick that up and give it back to you. And you can reach out to Scott, and maybe he can help you in the same way like he helped me. So post-enrollment, again, is a big missed opportunity to continue to support your customer base. And again, if you have a tool that's going to tell you everything about your customers, about your prospects, about your leads, and everywhere they are in that customer life cycle, you can go back to them. And while you're having that conversation about offering support, it's a great opportunity to ask for referrals. And that goes back to what I mentioned earlier, that Bob Bodine book on the power of who. If we go back to our existing network, my example was using the contacts on your phone, and you're diligent about working those contacts, not just having the 2 follow-ups that 80% of people do, but working them. And here's the big reality on that. 50% of people won't even. So of that 80% that go 2 or less, 50%, okay, so 30% is like the 2 category, 50%, a majority of that, they don't even follow up a single time, right? Somebody gives them their contact information, says, I'd love to learn more about what you do or how you can help me. And the person never even calls them back. I know a lot of us can relate. We've got stacks of business cards. Maybe we came home from a networking event, a trade show, and they're just sitting in that shoebox or that stack on our desk, or the proverbial circular filing cabinet. We just sort of throw them away. We never take an opportunity to do hello to enrollment correctly. And then that never leads to the post-enrollment supporting, feeding back into the lead generation. So again, a bit about process and how you can apply it. If I was working on the affiliate side, like Scott had originally asked about, I would say, who are my target audience or target leads for this? Who do I want to join me or expose this to? And it's easy to come up and either make a list based on the leads you already have, or identify a target audience that you want to get your information in front of. Then it's, what am I going to explain to them so that they can understand exactly the value that I'm creating for them? That's that trust process that we talk about in Mindset of a Champion, where we're building a bridge to help that person solve their problem so that we get the sale. And then ultimately how we're supporting and helping them once they've decided to purchase from us, or decided to join us as an affiliate, etc. So guys, that's a quick overview there. Is there any questions about this sort of process or system of sales and marketing here? That's sort of just a general 3-column step. Very simple. And again, if you learn it, work it, implement it, and practice it, it becomes second nature. There are nuances within each of these that we can dive into or detail out, and maybe we'll cover some of that over the course of 2022. Sean, Shelley, Hal, any questions on that? Hal, thanks for joining again.
No questions here.
Okay. Any other topics or things we want to talk about? Anybody have a question about anything technology related, Elify related, tap related, shuffle related? Well, sounds good. If there aren't any questions and nobody has any additional topics that we want to dig into, then we can start to wrap this thing up. Our goal on all of these calls is to provide an hour of live time. We've got about 20 minutes left in that, and I'm going to give you guys that 20 minutes back to get on with your day. If you've learned something just by overviewing this process that you can apply in your business, and learned how you can leverage our technology with Shuffle to support this process, I encourage you, use it, implement it, get started. It all starts with just taking action and doing the activities, doing the work. Once you do, it becomes habitual. We can talk about habits and stuff like that. In fact, that's going to be most likely one of the topics of conversation for Friday with the Founders tomorrow. Early on in Q4, we talked about Born to Win, and really trying to get that mindset of everybody on this can do whatever they want to do. Everybody on this call, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, if you want to make a change or move forward, you're capable of doing that. And that's really what that Born to Win is about. We shared out some of that book material. I'm all about pouring into ourselves when we talk about will, skill, and refill. We're really developing our skills, whether it be with the tools or with information. The next book, a guy and I have been reading through, I've already finished it and probably read it 2 or 3 times already, or 3 or 4 times already, is Atomic Habits. And I'll be talking about that tomorrow. That's about implementing the systems that you want to implement, independent of what the system is. The goal, really, if we've all done our goal setting for 2022, the goal is the direction. That's your North Star, but that's never the end all be all. The system is what gets you progress towards that goal. And really, Atomic Habits are about implementing the systems or the change or shift in systems so that ultimately and inevitably you will get to where you were going. Why is this important? As I mentioned earlier, you can look at and optimize the game of anything, right? What is the best basic strategy for implementing this? And then you can leverage and optimize that if you're willing to go down that path or implement the habits to get you there. But the cool part about that whole thing, and I'm going to go back to that movie 21, or, it was Simeon Dukac, I think, in the MIT blackjack team that started this whole thing. Mathematically, by pairing basic strategy with a strategy of card counting, they shifted it from the house's edge to their edge. So it was an inevitable guarantee that they would win over time. And I think they took Vegas for a few $1 million and, until they just started refusing allowing team members to come into the casinos and play. And that's because they implemented systems that had an inevitable, predictable result, and anybody could come on, join the team, learn and understand the system, right? That's part of the plan is the system, right? The preparation is learning the skills and the tools to implement that plan. Once you do that, you just start running it, and the results inevitably will happen. And you just have to get over the, what we called the, I forget, it was the valley of despair. I think in Atomic Habits, they talk about it. So we'll be talking about a little bit of that on Friday with the founders. I'll create a card for anybody who hasn't read that book with a link to my Audible, where if you want to go grab that book. I'm a big book person, but I'm not a reader. So I can plug in and listen to a book in 2-3 hours, and then listen to it a few times over and let some of that information soak in. But ultimately, if you're getting or absorbing any of the information, whether it's a book you read or what I've been talking about right now, it ultimately boils down to putting it into action. So take this information, put it into action, and you guys will see the results. Rounding out this first week of 2022 will be Friday with the founders tomorrow. This is going to be a full discussion with Q&A. We'll talk about a topic that'll be posted out and broadcasted tomorrow. We'll also have general Q&A, and then we'll roll into a quick overview of Elify's affiliate program and the best path to generate passive residual income. I've heard it posed to us as the ultimate side hustle. So if you're interested in learning more about that, join us for Friday with the founders. Then we'll will, skill, and refill over the weekend. That'll take us back to starting our 5-hour work week again with our first call Monday, sprint planning. We want to have a plan so we can prepare and expect to win in that plan. Tuesday, Tech Tuesday at 2 with Kathy. We had our first one this week at that fixed time slot, 2 p.m. Central Time on Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, you've got Mindset of a Champion. It's all about the total collective of skill sets that we can apply to advance where we're going. And a lot of the vernacular and thoughts that we talk about and concepts we talk about come out of that Mindset of a Champion. And then Friday with the founders. And again, it's all about creating the loop. So each and every week for the next 51 weeks after this week, we're going to be doing that, and we invite you to join. We invite you to bring your teams on and your guests on so that they can get value out of this as well. So from me here at Elify, I hope you guys have gotten value out of this live. If you're watching this afterwards and you have questions about anything we talked about, go on ahead and put a comment, and we'll come back and answer those comments. If you know somebody who you think would benefit from just watching and learning some of this, picking out some gold nuggets out of this, I encourage you to share this replay. And as soon as we're done, we'll repost this as well in all of our groups. So from me over here at Elify, I want to thank you for giving me some of your time. For those of you who stuck around this long, take the last 15 minutes of the hour and think about this, muse on this, and think about what you're going to do today to take action on this. What I love is every day is a gift. That's why they call it the present, right? So we get to reset every day and get back into activity. Tomorrow's hasn't come yet. We've just got today, and yesterday's over. We can't change anything that happened. So it's our goal to win today, win the next day, sum up those wins so that we're winning more than we're losing. We can win the week, we can win the month, we can win the quarter, we can win the year. If you started off 2022, right? Let's keep going. So thanks everybody from us here at Elify. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next call. Take care.
Thanks, TR.
Thanks. Take care, Shelly.